So Tyler is a doctor in biomechanics. I'm a sports scientist. So you don't have any golf teacher in front of you, but we are happy to talk about the motion and how you can use data and force plate and how you change the motion that will change the way you can deliver force and speed to the club. But if you have any question about what you covered this afternoon or this morning with the different people, we're happy to reply any question.
All of the content so far suggests that there's one optimum for everyone. So I was just curious, is that true regardless of technique? You know, if someone's over the top or into out, is the ground reaction force in the way you see people using the ground powerfully and efficiently, is that always the same, or are there cases where that could be different?
I'll let you start.
Yeah, I think some of the things will be the same, which would be that sequence would be the same. I don't think I see people who don't have that lateral, the rotational, that vertical. That's going to be the same regardless of some of those things. Are there some technique things that might happen? We just actually talked in the last one a little bit about some of the things with maybe a point of applications and a line of pressure. Maybe with a player who doesn't like to see the left side of the course. They just want to eliminate maybe that block. So meaning we want to have a little bit more of a left swing direction. Might I have a scenario where I might have them push in slightly different locations? Yes. Are there some areas where maybe I'm not quite as concerned with when does something be timed maybe relative to the other? Potentially I think there's some differences there. But I would say ultimately that sequence would be the same, right? Regardless of those golfers. I think the magnitudes of them might change slightly, and that might be related to what that player might have the capacity to do with their own body and what they're trying to accomplish in the swing. You talked about gender, so I'll just answer that one, and then I'm sure Jean-Paul has some thoughts. When I see things with females versus males, and again, coming from my background, which is in kind of sports, exercise science in general, I see a lot of females who play very rotationally, maybe as a result of their mobility and different things like that. But we know from good research in other sports that females have very, very strong legs. And so that is something that there's often an opportunity in females to crank up their efficiencies and powers if I can get them to use vertical force a little bit more, because sometimes that force is just frankly coached right out of females in the name of creating this fluid rotational swing. And so that's one gender difference that I always look for, because I think there's real opportunities there to help females gain a lot of speed and power quickly.
So you think that's mainly a coaching problem?
I mean, I'm standing in front of a lot of coaches right now, so I have to be careful.
The coach is always right.
It wasn't me, so
Yeah. I just will say, and I'm just going from the experiences I have with the coaches I work with. I often see them very focused with females on, the long, the fluidity, the positions, the visuals, and I never see them look at something like it's almost like a female golfer couldn't have a scenario where they're like, wow, I've never seen a coach show me, wow, look at the way they unload, offload, and then explode through the ball.
More athletic.
Right? It's almost like so I don't think it's on purpose, and I think partially it could even be the fact that, I think maybe boys growing up go out and it's just like, hey, we're stupid, let's just hit this golf ball as far as we can and have this competition or whatever, and I would like to see females doing that as 8 and 9-year-olds, swinging as hard as they possibly can, creating that athleticism inside of them. And so I would just say if you do coach female golfers, especially younger ones, coach them to be as athletic as possible, create force patterns that are accentuating the fact that they really do have powerful, powerful legs that should be utilized in the swing. For sure, there definitely are some situations where those movement patterns are a deficiency, but I still find a lot of female golfers that I can find speed in very quickly because of deficiencies I find in the force plates. Now I would test them, right? So you guys have already been with Dr. Rose and Jason Zubak, right? If I unlock some things in a test where I've had multiple female players who can jump, 18, 20 inches and their vertical forces are 125%, right? Their athleticism has been coached out of them. So that's a simple test I would run to kind of mesh that up together.
Yeah. That's all what we talk about here. It's all the capacities and the capabilities. Okay, capacities, you probably have different ones. But are you using these capacities into your specific motion, which is the golf swing? Everyone has got different capacities. Could be physiological reasons, fast fibers, slow fibers, more extensibility, meaning more flexibility, or like some women's more range of motion, okay, or less stiffness, whatever. So these capacities will define what you can do with the swing. You just have to identify these capacities and push them at the maximum to make a good motion. I like to do a basic comparison, but if you got, I don't know, a Porsche or a Ferrari, a Range Rover, and a Mini Cooper, that's 3 different chassis, 3 different structures, 3 different qualities. If you want to go into Vienna and park easily, which car do you take? The Mini. If you go next to the border in Germany and you've got no speed limit on the highway, which car do you take? And if you go onto the fields and go on the countryside or in the mountains or in the snow or in the mud, which one do you take? Do you think that if you put the wheels of the Range Rover onto the Ferrari, it's going to be good on the ice and on the snow? Not sure. And do you think if you put the Ferrari wheels onto the Mini, it's going to go faster? Okay, so we are built in a certain way. 3 types of cars is like the 3 types of posting we talked with Mike and Hans this morning. Standing on the trail side, rear post, standing in the middle, center post, standing on the lead leg. And if you're good at doing lateral, that's what you should do. Either you're young, old, female, male, whatever. It's only if you got one leg that could happen, disabled people, handicap golf. At that time, of course, you don't have the choice. Then if you're more rotary player, let's do it. Twist. It's like the Mini. You can go everywhere, twist everywhere. Here, it's Range Rover. I can this way. And if you're very explosive, very fast, let's make the Ferrari. Okay? So everyone is different, and it's not only body types. Could be physiological reasons, could be coordination, nervous conduction. But once again, you can test the capacity. If you're able to do it outside of the golf swing and you're not doing inside the golf swing, that's a good news for the coach, because you've got the capacity generated. You just have to put that into the specific motion. If you don't have the capacity, you got to work with the gym, with the physio, and with the training coach to build the capacity. Okay? So I think that's the way you can see the golf swing. You've got different qualities. Use these qualities and make sure you optimize all of them, and you can use them into your specific golf swing. Do you have any more questions? Raf?
When it comes to vertical forces, most people jump only with the left and right kind of doesn't do much, but when I get them engaged with both, they tend to jump higher. But now, would you want all the players to jump with both legs, or do you not?
Once again, it depends. That's the best answer. It depends. Let's take my example. I used to be a sprinter. I was doing sprint and long jump, and my strong end is the right one. So the one when I start to push is this one. When I jump, it's from the right leg. So this is my strong leg. Should I use it in the golf swing? Yes or no? No. That's my power leg, and you don't want to use my power leg. First thing, of course, if I've got some force from here, I should use it. But I should not use this one more than this one. This one, for anyone, the lead leg is always the strongest one in golf swing. But I can use almost the same with the trail leg than the lead leg. I don't want to overpass with the trail, because that's going to create trouble in geometry. Okay, so you won't get any good contact here. But I can use it. It would be a shame that I'm not using the force I developed all my life by doing sprinting. But in fact, if you've got your right leg dominant, or you've got something to use with the right leg, of course use it in the golf swing. Then if you're not using the right leg and you don't feel confident to use the right leg, only use the left. Okay? So anyone is able to use the right and likes to use it, yes, please use it. Don't waste this energy. Yeah. But if someone is not very good at it, don't try to help him to do with it.
I would also add just one thing is, if you have a player, let's take the player who's maybe not very explosive, who, if I've had players I've tested that I call them double jumpers, double leg jumpers with their vertical force. And if I were to take out, and they're not doing more from the trail than the lead, but that trail does kind of approach the lead, but it's just a pattern of they're just kind of weak in their legs to begin with. Yes, I want to train the physical capacity of that lead, but if I take them and just basically say, no, we can't use this trail leg at all, I've taken their vertical force from 160 to 120 just like that, because I've I've taken that part of their swing out of it too. So I've had high level players that have used both legs. Again, lead is always a little bit higher, but there's also that other part where they just don't have the physical capacity in either leg, and that can be helpful for them to do both.
The only thing, if you use trail leg with lead leg in vertical, is just to be sure they're happening at the same time for the peak.
Yeah, one example I would give too with that is, and this is where I think the force plates can be really powerful with as quickly as you can collect and compare data, would be even an example there where maybe I'm working some vertical force drills, whether it's jumps or med ball throws, and I might just take a force pedal and put it under the ball of the lead foot. I'm not telling them to do this any less. I'm still allowing them to create that force, but I've give them a little bit of a cue under the lead foot as they're doing the jumping drills or as they're doing a medicine ball drill for vertical force, then naturally maybe that leg is going to start working just a little bit harder. And then I would just put them right back on the plates. I'd watch what took place. Sometimes I think these changes in movement patterns feel like it's such a long process. And I think when you find the right drill, it can be very quick in terms of seeing it. So I would give them that drill and have them do it a few times till I can see that they're doing it correctly. And then they're right back on the plates, and I look at it and I say, yes, that did what we needed it to do, perfect. And if it didn't, I'm rethinking what I'm doing with them and getting them back on the plates again to look at how that works.
Beauty of having the plates that you can confirm you're doing a good job or a bad job.
Yeah.
So you don't lose too much time.
It's not like start of lesson of end of lesson. It's like, yeah, start of lesson, drills,
check.
Force plates, drills, check. And then by the end of the lesson, what I hope I've found is that way that's going to help that specific player improve the force and motion that we're trying to get them to improve for that lesson. Then I can confidently send them on their way for that week between lessons to work the appropriate drills so they can kind of loop back in. If I wait till the end of my lesson, I might look at it and say, well, that didn't help at all. We spent all this time on drills that actually weren't improving the data the way that we needed to for that specific lesson, right? So checking throughout, I think, is really powerful, and it's easy, and it's fast. Some of I think the stuff that at least I do that works the very best is the stuff that's a lot of things that it's set up and really early in the swing, right? And when you do those types of things, you start finding that the trickle-down effect is exactly what you said. If I tell a player to, hey, I need you to be at this position here with vertical force of 180%, they're never going to be able to do that, right? But if I then can work my way back and look at these traces and say, well, the reason this is an issue is because this is an issue, but because this was the thing that set things off. And often, and this is kind of what we'll show here, is it's that they're fighting to get back to a stable position. And so if you can create that from the get-go, from a starting position related to width of the stance and what they're doing with the foot flare and how they're creating those forces initially, now I've created a really stable, efficient position to generate forces from. I get out of balance and now I'm in a move to get more balanced, and then I'm trying to also use force to deliver the club to the ball.
What's important here is to understand how you can use the point of application, the center of pressure below your feet. Depending where you go below your feet, you're going to recruit the different muscles. If you're not in the correct location, it's impossible for you to recruit these muscles, so having the good action. So not being at a good spot at the right time won't give you the possibility to use it properly. Fine. So if you want to move to your left side, if I ask you to make a stride and push strong to go to the left side, from which part of the right foot you're pushing off first? Here. So if you want to produce lateral force from the trail foot, you've got to be sure that the center of pressure is already here. If it's not here, not good. So you take the force pedal, you put it here, you ask the player to load at that position, and automatically it will be able to generate the correct lateral force at the right time. This is what we propose here as non-teachers, but human motion experts.
Yeah.
It's just to see what exists in your capacities in other sport or other actions, and try to bring that into the golf swing, the specific. Making a stride on the right side or left side, everyone can do it. Jumping up, everyone can do it. Throwing a ball, everyone can do it. So can you use the same coordination, the same pattern, but in the golf swing? Mm-hmm. So building the motion to bring that in the specific golf swing. That's the idea there.
You know what's interesting is I use different sport examples based on the force I'm trying to teach. So you mentioned, like, let's say baseball as an example. And if I'm working with a player who's trying to maybe fill a little bit more of that lateral push off that side, and I might talk to them a little bit about base running or pitching off of a mound or something like that, right? That might connect really well with them. If I'm, is hockey a big, hockey, you guys ice skate in Europe, do you?
Right? Not so much.
I mean, again, you start thinking about like the idea of even like lateral forces pushing sideways in hockey, or even a creation of like actually moving backwards, creating that motion. The thing I think that's interesting about golf, as Jean-Paul pointed out, it's also a sport where we know exactly where the ball's going to be and where we have to move to. There aren't a lot of sports like that. Like it's like this is where the ball is, and this is what I need to do force-wise. It's not like all of a sudden the ball is going to be over here and I need my lateral force to be this way. No. We know the directions and applications. So
ground traction force is the basement of your house. If you got solid walls on the structure, then you can build the upper levels differently. So for us, that's an evidence that yes, using ground traction force as the primary source of power and stability is the key. With ground traction force and force plate, you manage stability because you need to be stable to produce force, and then quantity of force to produce more motion. The first condition is to be stable. Mm-hmm. If you're not stable, you won't do any efficient motion. Your brain is not daft. If you're falling, it's going to protect yourself. It's not going to try to keep going and doing a swing. If you fall, you stop anything and focus on protecting yourself. So stability is the first thing. The pattern, the way you use the COPs will tell you the stability you're using, your strategy. If it's simple, built on that, then you can use your muscle and build an efficient motion. So of course, ground traction force is the base for us.